Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Championship Review. We're on match day 90. I'm Carl as usual. We will go through a lot of key games between Leeds United against Derby County. Sunderland played early against Stoke City yesterday. Also, Coventry Street going away to Millwall, and also the big game earlier on Sunday game was West Brom against Sheffield United. Just to clarify, there were only two games postponed in the Championship. Unfortunately, Cardiff against Watford and Plymouth Argyle against Oxford were postponed due to the Storm Dara, and that affected their playing their games over the weekend. But joining me as usual, as I say, we've got him alongside is Michael. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing quite well, actually. I'm not doing too badly, and I'm glad you said it's a Storm Dara. I'm glad you said what the name of the storm was because I was really forgetting what the name of it was supposed to be.
I
But
know.
yes, yeah. But let's just say when I was at the game yesterday, I was absolutely drenched and I was freezing cold. But as you can imagine, in the end, it was worth it. So yeah, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad at all. Yeah, at least I stayed in over this weekend, because originally I was supposed to go out early today to meet with Doug and his wife, Doug and his wife Rebecca, and their son Nathan, but they have not been feeling too well because they said they didn't want to spread anything to me because they know I'm going back home after next week coming. So I said that's fine. We'll reschedule after New Year, but I just had a chilled one anyway. So.
Yeah, well, hopefully, well, if Doug's watching this, which I suspect he probably will be, I hope you're feeling better soon, mate. And yeah, it looks like Fulham decided to do you a favour in the title race in the Premier League, didn't they?
Well,
So
yeah, huge for them. Yeah, I know.
absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, no, I messaged him earlier to. I might message him now. I was going to say I was going to message him now to say we're live, but we're pre-recording at the minute. Sorry,
He will
sorry,
know. He will know.
I've just completely ruined the illusion, but never mind.
Don't
Um,
worry about it. It happens anyway with
Yeah,
football.
I
So
keep forgetting about it. But yeah, so Doug, when you are watching this, hope you're feeling better.
absolutely, indeed. Right. Do you know what? Because we've got a short fixture results to look at. Actually, let's start off with the well. Start with Friday night. Actually, with Burnley against Middlesbrough, drew 1-1. Goals from sorry, goals from Deck Steel. See, I can't even
Beef
pronounce it.
steal.
My dyslexia's coming there, but yeah, but Wilson did scoring early on in the 30th minute. And then Conor Rob scored the equaliser as well.
I was just about to go. Can you pronounce the name of the Burnley goal scorer? But yeah, that's a bit.
So I
That's a
can
lot.
pronounce that one. That's
Yeah,
fine. Yeah,
yeah, that's a lot easier to pronounce. To be fair, isn't it?
yeah. Well, I can pronounce it, but. Is this Burnley missed a huge chance to go back at top, Michael? Was that a good result for both of our teams?
By both of the teams, do you mean Burnley and Middlesbrough? Or do you mean both Leeds and Sunderland?
Both of our teams, both Leeds and Sunderland.
For us, definitely, because I'm well. Before we get on to the game, I think I was wanting that to be a draw actually, because I'm thinking in my head that in case you guys, Sheffield United and Burnley, pull a bit clear of us, and in case we're not in the top two picture come the back end of the season, which I still hope we will be, then I want to get as much of a gap to teams below us as possible and at least try and secure fourth place. So if that was the case, I was like, well, okay then. I'll prefer it was a draw. If you, I mean, I can imagine you would have preferred Middlesbrough to win, but but I think if I had to pick a winner, I would rather Borough had beaten Burnley. But I did say draw was my preference. But yeah, for me personally, I think it was a good result for both of our teams, especially for Sunderland. Whether you think differently, I don't know.
I kind of really wanted Middlesbrough to win, but I think this draw helps both of us. Yeah, so I was
But
happy
then
with
again, if you beat Borough on Tuesday, though, or tomorrow night, whenever this is going out,
it's
when
Tuesday,
if you
but it will be tomorrow. It will be Monday night.
Monday, okay, then. So by the time you're watching this, but tomorrow night, if you beat Middlesbrough, then it's probably an even better result then because then you beat them and go further clear of them anyway, don't you? So we'll wait and see. But yeah, I'll ask you this then: Do you who do you think this is a better point for out of these two teams for Burnley or Borough?
Ooh, I'm good. That's a good question. Oh,
I would say probably just edge Middlesbrough,
I would
just edge.
say just
Yeah,
about, yeah,
yeah, being away from home and being the first team for like what was it, 8 hours of football or something to score past Burnley.
yeah.
Um, I mean, onto the game itself. I mean, I thought it's weird because we kind of expected Burnley's strength is defence, and Borough have got one of the best attacks in the division. So I was kind of looking forward to seeing how Parker and Carrick would match up against each other. And actually, Borough's flurry forward when Jake Steele scored. First of all, I have
Drixfield.
to.
There you go. Thank you.
Is
At
it?
least you pronounced it properly. Yeah,
Well, I'm hoping I pronounced it properly. I mean, I've not got dyslexia, so I haven't got that as an excuse.
that's
But
fine. Yeah.
yeah, I've just got autism instead, so I don't know whether that's applicable or not.
Hey, I'm autistic as well too, so mixed two, but I have double the
Oh
effect.
well, there you go. That's fine. But yeah, okay. Duke Steel. Until someone in the comments tells me I'm wrong, then that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Yeah, but it was a good finish actually. Duke Steel, really, really good finish. I can't remember. Was it Barlassa who put the pass through to him?
Yes.
Defense split and pass, which was really, really good. And I thought Duke Steel all night was excellent. Against his combative on the his right left hand side for Burnley. I think it was Anthony who he was up against. I can't remember if Anthony was on the right or the left, but whoever he was up
He was
against,
on the left actually. Actually, yeah.
Anthony. Well, there you go. Anthony barely got the better of him. Jake Steele, I think, won nearly every duel, like every one-on-one that was there, and I thought he was my man in the match. Not just for the fact that he scored, but his general play across the game. I was very impressed with him. But no, it was a good finish. Borough went ahead, and then I think from that point, Burnley kind of had to come out and really show a bit more attacking impetus, didn't they? And look, Connor Roberts equaliser, you can debate whether Senny Dieng is a bit at fault for this, or at least could have done better with it, or whether it's Storm Dara. Is it Storm Dara? I think he
Yep,
said.
Sean Dara.
There
Yeah.
you go. Whether Storm Dara decided to play a part and help Leeds and Sunderland by Burnley and Middlesbrough being a draw, then think, all right, then we'll help this on the way in. But having said that, yeah, so Burnley, I think the equaliser was coming. I think that Burnley did deserve to get level when they did. And then obviously half time came and went. And second half, for me, I'm guessing you watched the game. If you didn't, then obviously I can tell you my own thoughts. But
I watched the
um,
game. Yeah, I
oh,
did.
did you? Okay, then. Well, because for me, this was game of the weekend. I know West Brom, Sheffield United obviously was up there, but these were two teams that are very not different styles, but are very like Burnley's one of the parachute teams, and Borough's got one of the most brightest up and coming head coaches, and has got a really good attacking side. So I was keen to see how they would cancel each other out. But the second half, what I noticed was Burnley had a lot more of the ball, but I thought Borough on the break were excellent, and I think that the only thing they missed was just killer finishing touches and just to make sure that you actually finished your chances off because Borough had some good chances in the second half to win the game. But in the end, I would say as a neutral, I think a draw was the right result. And I'm not just saying that because it benefited obviously both our teams for that game being a draw, but I would say it's a decent point for both teams, but I would say it's slightly better for Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I agree as well. For Burnley, do you think Scott Parker will rule to miss to get another win? Four win, another fifth win on Friday? Should was that a must win? Well, to get them back to the top in the top two. Do you think that was a missed opportunity with the 2 points, not getting the extra 2 points?
Possibly. I think if I was a Burnley fan, I would be saying, and I saw at least one Burnley fan on social media who I interact with quite a lot saying they would have took a point before kickoff because of Borough's quality and Borough's form. I know they lost to Blackburn, but that's kind of like an anomaly. They've been on a pretty decent run recently, so I think for Burnley, yes, it was disappointing probably not to get the extra 2 points, but it's a point gained from a losing position, and Burnley responded to going behind. Um, I think the biggest one for me is when coming midweek when they're playing Derby at home. Like that's a different type of game. That's a game you need to be winning if you're Burnley, and I think they probably will be. And obviously, from Burnley's point of view, they're going to be in a similar situation when you play Middlesbrough as what you were when Burnley played Middlesbrough, which I didn't quite believe because you played Derby and Middlesbrough, and then Burnley played Middlesbrough and Derby,
Yeah,
which is weird how the fixtures work like that. But yeah, either way, it's probably a missed opportunity in some degree for Burnley. But I would say I would say if it's a good point as long as they beat Derby in midweek.
absolutely as well. Let's go to Hillsborough. It was a one more draw between Sheffield Wednesday and Preston off end. Emilio Reese scored his fifth championship goal of the season for Preston, but an equaliser from Michael Smith to rescue a point for Sheffield Wednesday that held to Preston's fourth consecutive draw in the championship. Was this a good points for Wednesday because they now move up to ninth?
Yeah, I mean they've obviously won their last they won their last game away at Derby. Remember last weekend they won it in like pretty much stoppage time, didn't they? Last kick of the game. So
Yeah,
I think if you're Wednesday fans 4 points from Derby and Preston, I don't think there'd be many Sheffield fans who wouldn't have taken that. They just probably might have expected it the other way around. And something I didn't notice until, obviously until I've looked at the table just now. Obviously, West Brom got a point today, but Sheffield Wednesday are only 5 points off sixth, which is weird how close the championship is. But I think for Sheffield Wednesday fans, I think a lot of them would have just taken a solid top half mid-table season. Just make sure they're not in any danger of going down because you can imagine last season was a very much emotional roller coaster for them. So they might want a bit more of a steady sort of season. So yeah, I'd say a point was all right for Sheffield Wednesday. And to be fair, it's a point on the road again for Preston. It just sort of keeps points tallies ticking over until January. But having said all, I will say this: Sheffield Wednesday, oh, was it, who? Someone had a penalty in this game. I'm sure
It
someone had a
was
penalty in this.
Sheffield Wednesday.
Right, yes, it was. You're right. So yeah, Sheffield Wednesday could rue the fact that if it was a penalty miss, then Michael Smith could go on to score later, possibly anyway. Then it could be a potential 3 points at home for them. But yeah, I'd say a point's obviously better for Sheffield Wednesday in their situation than what say it is for Preston. And I didn't realise actually how tight the battle down at the bottom now is, because obviously QPR have started to win a few games, Portsmouth have started to win a few games. There was what Hull, so it's like Phil Hull 15th, and then Preston like 17th with 19 points. So Preston are 4 points off the bottom of the league. Um, yeah, I've kind of said my piece with Preston. I think it's about Paul Heckingbottom just trying to shift the style of play slightly while still getting enough results to make sure they don't get relegated.
They are
Uh,
still winners away in 19 after 19 games in the from Deepdale this season, which is they had a chance to end that run on Saturday.
well, they haven't won a game away from home yet this season. Well, you know what game is probably going to come back to, isn't it? The Plymouth one when they're 3-0 up, and then they somehow contrive not to win that one. That one's more costly than this. Yeah, I would say it's an all right point for both, but probably better for Sheffield Wednesday because they needed the win that little bit less than what I think Preston might have done.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that as well. A good point for the Owls as well. Going to Kenilworth Road, Swansea got an equaliser against Luton Town, drawing 1-1. Listen, the opening goal for Luton when Adebayo scored. Do you think both the goalkeeper, the goalkeeper and the defender for Swansea should take the blame for this? Because the way that happened, I don't know how, Lawrence Vergero and also just even shout for the ball from his defender, which is a bit calamitous from both the players. I think it was the defender. I think I remember it was
Cabango.
Cabango. Yeah,
Yeah, no, but I mean, it was a horrendous mix-up from both of them. I don't know. I don't know whether it was just against Storm. I don't know how bad it was down Hertfordshire, but no, I would imagine how bad Storm Darrow was down there. But either way, it's a miscommunication altogether, isn't it? They basically both. I don't know whether they both tried to think the other was going for the ball and then they both missed it, or whether both were trying to go for the ball and then met in the middle and ended up missing it altogether. So either way, it's not an ideal way to concede, is it? Put it that way. But for Luton, I think obviously at that point we know about the pressure that could be increasing on Rob Edwards at this point, and I'm still finding myself shocked that I'm still talking about Luton being in the relegation battle. But either way, if they don't start pulling away from the bottom end of the league, that's where they're going to be. So I would say it was a relief for Luton. It was a gift of a goal. I think based on what I watched on the highlights, and bear in mind I've only watched probably 5 minutes, it did look like Swansea did deserve a point
yeah.
from the game based on the way the second half went. So from Swansea's point of view, I think it was all about just making sure you come away with something because despite Luton's struggles, I think Sunderland are the last team who've gone to Kenilworth Road and won. So that might, and I think that was the only team that's won there since August, I think.
Yeah,
So at Kenilworth Road, it's actually, even though Luton's performances still aren't great, they're still, with the exception of the Sunderland game, since August, they've been unbeaten at home, I think, in the league. It's just away from home where their main struggles are at the moment. So it's, again, I mean, it's not a great point for Luton if they're not going to pick up points and wins away from home, then they need to be winning nearly every home game, don't they? So you could say I think it's probably a better point again, better point for Swansea coming from behind and being away from home than it is for Luton. But Luton have got to start like really looking at themselves here because if they don't improve quickly, they're going to be in real serious danger. And the last thing that they would want, especially with a new ground on the horizon, is to be in League One.
yeah, absolutely. That's the last place for me. It's just like what's got if you say the same thing with Everton, they can't be relegated when they go to their new stage next summer as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's both those teams. Yeah, but for Luton, this is very vital. It really is as well. Do you know what? Now we're getting to the last stages. I'm gonna
Latter
go.
stages of the draws.
Yeah, well, I've done the last stages of. I'll
Actually,
leave
all the draws are done, aren't they? Well, sorry, there's one draw left, isn't
which we
there?
will leave later on. I think
Because
that's
it's quite
why.
relevant to our teams, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm
Okay.
going to go to the MKM Stadium when Blackburn winning 1-0 away at Hull City. An own goal, unfortunately, from Sean McLaughlin in front of Ruben Sellers, who's now the new manager of Hull City. What do you think of that appointment from getting him from Reading?
Well, if we're going from, I wonder whether their owner went to go and crawl back to Liam Rosenior, but I'd imagine that probably didn't happen. Ruben Sellers, I think, is a very smart. It's definitely an interesting appointment, and it's probably a move that he's earned, given that we all know what's going on with Reading behind the scenes. And I think for him to have done what he's done, because Reading were in the top six in League One, I think, I know around that picture when he's left, when I think a lot of people would have tipped them to certainly not be challenging for promotion, put it that way. So, from Hull's point of view, I think that's as good as appointment as they can get in their situation. But I also think it's a bad. I don't think it's a bad appointment either. I think it's quite a solid one. I think he'll be determined to prove a point in the championship, and I think whatever Hull's struggles behind the scenes, I'd imagine they're a lot more stable than what Reading are. So I think it's for Ruben Sellers. I think is a really really good move, and I think for Hull it's a good appointment. I think in time it'll prove to be that. I mean, I meant of the first order of the day is to keep Hull up this season, isn't it? I think that's what he needs to make sure that he gets enough points to accumulate safety. But we'll see how much of a big manager bounce happens or big head coach bounce happens. I know that the owner kind of got Tim Walter because he wanted what was the phrase? Heart attack football that
Yeah,
Tim Walter basically provided. But Ruben Sellers, I think what he needs to do is because as much as I think Hull's squad's much weaker than it is last year, I don't think it's in the bottom three squads in the division, and I think
no.
there's enough there to be able to get them out of danger and to be able to keep them up. And basically, keep Tim Walter's attacking philosophy, but balance that with maybe being a bit better defensively and not leaving
They
yourself
did
so
pretty
short.
decently well yesterday, quite well than we expected. They just couldn't get the chance to score because
Yeah,
Blackburn.
they did. Yeah, no, they did have opportunities, didn't they?
Yeah,
But yeah, so but to quick long before I quickly talk about Blackburn, I think Hull need to just have the continue creating the chances that they do, but maybe when you go for corners, maybe don't push 10 of your men up for corners and leave yourself really exposed, because just that would be a little bit counterproductive. But yeah, good appointment. And as for Blackburn, to be fair, what's that? Three straight 1-0 wins.
yeah,
What was against Middlesbrough? Obviously, your boys Leeds and
yeah,
now Hull away. So it's
yeah.
we have to talk about John Eustace. I don't think we've mentioned him very much. This
No,
season? What a job he has done, by the way. If you actually look at it, I don't think Blackburn at the back end of last season when he was there won any games at Ewood Park. I might be wrong there, but I don't think he did.
I don't think he. No, I don't think he did. He took the point. He took a win against us towards the end of last season. Yeah, they
Yeah,
went quite well. Yeah,
yeah. So first of all, well done for keeping Blackburn up because there was a lot of uncertainty around what was going on. Then you've had to turn that not a sinking ship. That's the wrong word, but you've took the team that was on the decline. You've had to take them to another level. And on top of that, you lost Sammy Smoddix, who was sold in the window. But Blackburn aren't feeling the effects of it at the minute because they're still obviously scoring enough goals to win games. And defensively, they've been resolute over the last few matches. So yeah, I would say John Eustace could be an unsung shout for manager of the season so far. Personally, I mean, I don't think he would get it, but I think his name's got to be in the conversation given the turmoil that was happening at Blackburn.
yeah. I think his name is just. I think he's already in that list already. I can't figure the others at the moment. Other than him, that's done so well. Probably if Watford could keep going, I think Tom Cleveland might be in that shout
Yeah,
as
really
well.
good shout.
Yeah, and probably Neil Harris and Daniel Farker, and probably your man, Labrie as well. So I think we kind of we are at some point we're gonna those names might be in that contention completely. So
Yeah, well, you know what's going to happen though. It'll get announced at the back end of April when, because me and Anne had this conversation last season, but we're both not a big fan of the head coaches or manager of the season being announced before the season's completed.
no, I
Yeah,
agree with that. I don't like. I like it after the season.
yeah, because what if for example, yeah, hard trying to, let's say for example, because Kieran McKenna got given it last year, I think, didn't he? Or
Yeah,
was yeah, so Kieran McKenna got given it right, but let's say for example, if Ipswich had dropped out the top two and didn't win the playoffs, does that mean he still gets it then because he didn't get them up? Probably.
I don't think so. No, I can't. That criteria, if you don't get them up, then no.
Yeah, so it's mad, really. I mean, or what if here's an even weirder scenario. What if Enzo Maresca had been given it, and then Leicester didn't even get promoted? They're like, well, that's a bit awkward. So
Mm.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, back to John Eustace though. John Eustace, superb job. Apart from when they play twice against Sunderland, long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely a good way for Blackburn and John Eustace carry on their good running form as well. Let's go to my trade Loftus Road, and what a day for teenage Rylan Coley's first senior goals. That Algeria under 20 scored 2 goals in a 3-0 win for QPR against Norwich City. Jimmy Dunn has, recently just had lost, recently scored his goal. He's had a bit of a really tough week because he lost his father. His dad suddenly passed away, and he decided to play in this game. What a moment for Jimmy Dunn to get a goal after the recent bereavement of his father, and a goal from Ryan Coley, senior goals in his career.
Well, first of all, for Jimmy Dunn, losing your dad and then playing the same week is a big testament to his character. Like that's something that is really really commendable. I remember when we were our first year in League One, um, when we were playing Portsmouth in the playoffs, and we were trying to get promoted, obviously back to the Championship, which obviously we didn't do. But Grant Ledbetter, that I think it was the night before the second leg, had lost his mother, I think, and obviously and managed to get himself playing the next day to try and get us to the playoff final. And so it's a test. And the point I'm making there is that it's I can only imagine what them players must be going through and what be thinking when they lose a parent. But at the same time, for someone like Jimmy Dunn, it might be a bit of normality for him. It might be, you know what, I need something to distract myself, or I need something to give us a sense of normality in the midst of what's happening. So, and he took his, and I get onto the game, he took his goal really well, actually. Yeah, okay, it was a bit of ping pong in the box before he felt to Jimmy Dunn, but he kind of had a striker's sort of finish, really, where he toe pokes it into the far left corner. So, really good start to get QPR up and running. They had some good chances before then as well, didn't they,
Yeah,
to take the lead. And then obviously Coley, what a day for that young man. Like he's going to remember that for a long, long time. Coming off and getting a brace against a decent, well, certainly going forward, a decent Norwich City side. Um, I would say though for Norwich, they need to start sorting themselves out defensively away from home, because I've started to notice a pattern going on here where they're getting to be very, 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 very good at Cower Road, but then when it seems when they go away from home, they just can't seem to be able to defend at all, can they? I mean, they've
no,
what?
they've really struggled on the road defensively.
Yeah, it's not been particularly good from their point of view. And look, I mean, obviously scored 10 goals across the Plymouth and Luton games at Carrow Road, which for them is really, really, really encouraging. But, you can't go to, with all due respect to QPR, as much as they thoroughly deserve the win here, like, they hadn't won at home all season.
No,
And from Norwich's point of view, if you're wanting to try and push for the top six, because for me, when everybody's fit, Norwich have got a team that's good enough to push for the top six, then this is not a game you can afford to be losing, and certainly not losing 3-0. But to be fair, again, it's not QPR's problem. It's not Cifuentes' problem. You only play what's in front of you. And I'll say for Coley, his second goal was really, really good. Where, yeah, okay, it was based off a Norwich mistake, but he managed to intercept the pass, intercept the ball, and run with it. And it was a very, very calm, composed, cool finish as well, wasn't it? So
yeah,
from QPR's point of view, massive for them to finally get their first win at Loftus Road. Their home fans have something to cheer about, and they're out. And if I'm right, they're out of the bottom three at the moment. So
they
that's
are. Yeah,
there we go. Yep. I mean, again, it's very tight, but at one point we were talking potentially could QPR get cut adrift. But it's funny how a couple of wins all of a sudden gives you an upsurge in confidence, doesn't it?
it does as well. And listen, do you know what the thing with Algerian national team and the youngsters? They really do make really good wingers. They really have got that great. Riyad Mahrez is one of them. I think
Yeah.
there's going to be another generation of talent there if he continues stocks rises up.
Our colleague you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, well, the main thing that I think Cifuentes will be telling him is just keep your feet on the ground, keep performing well, and see where it ends up taking you. So, yeah, all the more power to him. If he gets a handful of goals and QPR stay up, then it's not a bad start in if I'm right, his first year. Certainly his first year in English football.
absolutely. No, absolutely indeed. Right, let's go to the den. A massive first win for Frank Lampard. As the Coventry City boss, they won 1-0 against Millwall. Epsom Mason Clark scored the winner, his second goal in many games. That was a win for really huge win for Lampard. It now takes Coventry up to 14th in the Championship. We don't need to worry about them being going relegated now, do we?
If you said to me at the start of December this was going to be a conversation around Coventry, I would have been thinking, what the hell have you been smoking, and can I have some? Because that would have been unthinkable though. If you remember, like when a lot of people were, I've mentioned this before, but when a lot of people were doing their predictions, for example, Luton and Coventry, I had them both in my playoffs. And I got an arguable shouts for top two. No, I don't think we can. I don't think it's. I mean, look, how many points are they off? 20 seconds. 4 points off 22nd, right? But again, it's congested. Look, if Coventry are anywhere near that position in the league by the second half of the season, then Frank Lampard must have done terribly because I just don't see it. I think he'll get. I think they'll certainly start to pull further and further away from potential danger of getting relegated. But to be fair to them, this was not just for Lampard, but this was a big, big win for Coventry. I think it was their first win since they beat Middlesbrough start of
Yeah.
November. I want to say because they followed that up before. I think with like losing at home to Derby, then drawing against Sunderland, Sheffield United, losing to Burnley, drawn to Cardiff, and then obviously winning this game. So this was massive for Lampard. Really, really important for him. So yeah, I don't think there's many complaints that can be had, and we know how tough a place. As we both know, neither of us won it. Neither of us won at the Den. So that's
Yeah.
a really, really hard place to go, particularly to go and play. And I think one thing that did really stand in my mind after this, and I don't know if you see it was on social media. It was from a Coventry fan from the away end, and it was just like all the fans were chanting "Super Frank Lampard" and stuff like that. And Frank Lampard will be encouraged by that more than anything else because he probably knows about a lot of the stick that he will certainly have been getting at the moment in terms of how his managerial career's credentials. So yeah, but no, for Coventry, really, really good win, and it's one where it can give them confidence to move further up the division. And I'm pretty sure that they've got like Millwall at home again. Obviously, they've got to play Plymouth in that time. They've got to play potentially Oxford. I think. Hang on,
Yeah.
they've got to play Oxford. I think they've got to play Oxford in that time. I can't remember. They've got some really. I know for a fact they've got some really winnable fixtures coming up. Let's have a quick look. Okay, West Brom away in midweek. It's tricky, but I can see Coventry getting something potentially.
Yeah.
Right, so Hull, Portsmouth, Plymouth, Millwall, Cardiff again, Norwich, Chef Wed. Yeah, you've got a lot of winnable games coming up there. Bristol City after that. So yeah, I think to answer your question, I think this is the point where we might start to see if Coventry perform in the games coming up, we'll start to see a gap forming between them and the bottom three. And who knows, maybe the gap between them and the top six getting closer if they have a really, really good run.
Absolutely. Like I said, this was Millwall's first defeat in the space of 5 games. Um, they, do, do you think when they had a good chance in the first half to try to take the lead, Millwall? I know Newhouse talked after they were the better team, but did they just lack that current edge with a couple of chances that they put over the bar and wide in the game yesterday?
Probably. I think this has been quite. This has not been an exclusive problem to this game, has it? Though I think that Millwall have had quite a few decent. Again, I'm going to talk about XGs again, but their XG going forward is actually pretty decent, and it's certainly not Neil Harris Millwall like, if you know what I mean. We kind of expected them to be primarily resolute. What's the one I'm looking for? Stubborn and really difficult to break down at the back. But going forward, they do miss some good chances as well. So I think for Millwall, look, it's one where look, it's your first home defeat in however many games. You've claimed some massive scalps on the way, beating Burnley and Leeds, getting a last minute draw against Sunderland. So there's enough to be encouraged about for Neil Harris. But if they do want to try and sustain a challenge for the top six, then they obviously probably need to get back on track sooner rather than later because it's 6 points to the playoffs at the moment. But nah, yeah, I don't think there's too much to be concerned about with Millwall at the moment. And by the way, very quickly, I don't see them getting dragged into a relegation battle either. I think they'll be too good at home for that.
Yeah, no, yeah, we'll see during the course of the season. Do you know what? Let's go to since Annie's not here. I don't know
Oh,
why.
I
Well,
wonder why that is.
yeah, well, fortunately, Portsmouth move off at the bottom of the charts after a comfortable victory against Bristol City, winning 3-0. Goals from Kobe Bishop, Josh Murphy, and also the final goal from Callum Lang that moves them off the bottom of the championship. And I have to say, Portsmouth took this game really well and took their chances quite well.
Well, the main talking point is for Portsmouth. Fantastic win. Absolutely fantastic 3 points. And it was a good scoreline to have. And I think from what I watched Andy's video yesterday on his own channel, which I'd recommend people go and subscribe to, by the way. But like he was basically saying that Pompey, even then, before the first goal, were all over Bristol City. Bristol City couldn't get a rhythm, they couldn't get passing going together. And Portsmouth, I think, were just right in their faces, and it just kind of showed, really. And I think from what he was saying, it was no surprise when Pompey eventually did take the lead. Although I have to say, I suppose, I mean, you've got to feel for Max O'Leary because he does well to save the initial effort. but then obviously the rebound falls kindly to Colby Bishop. Great to see him playing again, by the way. But obviously he scores into an empty net, doesn't he? So you feel for Max O'Leary with that one. I've got to say the defending for the last couple of goals isn't very good, is it?
No.
It's one where I can imagine Andy would have been tearing whatever remained of his hair out. So it's yeah. I mean, but well, put it this way. But I mean, to get to Portsmouth, I'll quickly talk about Bristol City. For Pompey, absolutely fantastic win, and we did mention at the start of the season has their tough start drained their confidence now? And maybe now their confidence is finally starting to come back and it's starting to remind themselves, hang on, we won a lot of games. I guess it was in League One, but we won a lot of games last year. We're actually not a bad side. So, and Portsmouth are now on the cusp of being out of the bottom three with a couple of games in hand as well. So, yeah, I think for Portsmouth, there's really, really encouraging times coming up. And as I mentioned, for the likes of Derby, as I mentioned, for the likes of Oxford as well, for them, we've said how big their home form is going to be, and probably Plymouth as well. How big is their home performances and home form going to be if they're going to stay up? And if Pompey win games like that at home or get enough home wins, no one's going to be complaining in the slightest. As for Bristol City, well, where'd you start with this?
Mm,
This seems like such a Bristol City thing, and I think Annie would probably agree with this. This is such a Bristol City type of thing to do. This is why, because we've got Bristol City this coming week at the Stadium of Light, and I'm not counting me chickens whatsoever because I know what I know what the championship's like, and B, I know what Bristol City's like, as Annie's told us enough times. They are just so the definition of inconsistent, aren't they?
yeah.
So, I mean, like, I'll tell you what. Actually, I'll quickly because we've obviously got our group chat on Twitter, and Annie had directly messaged me as soon as their game was finished. Bear me a minute. I'll read you exactly what he said to me. It won't take too long to find. But oh, here we go. So he put Michael Bowers 15, obviously my Twitter handle. You are going to batter us this week. Congrats in advance. We were an awesome team to play against. Then he asked, "Do you guys press well?" I said, "At strategic points we do, but when we do it, I would say we do press fairly well." He says, "Well, yeah, you've won." So he's he's adamant Sunderland are going to batter them, which, as we know, the championship does not work like that, Annie. So we'll wait and see how it happens. But yeah, I mean, I can only imagine how frustrating it must have been for any Bristol City fan going down to Portsmouth. But what's behind their inconsistency, though? I can't put my finger on it.
Neither can I. I don't know why though, and I don't know what It's a hard one because like 1 week or 2 weeks they look good enough, and then the other 2 weeks later they don't look. They go two steps back. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's maybe the consistency is the main issue. I would say. So I don't
yeah.
know. It's hard to put my finger down on that. On
So
pinpointing down on that.
no wonder Annie gets frustrated all the time. Then I can imagine because obviously we did. Obviously, he was like wax lyrical about Bristol City's win over Plymouth, but he did stress there's a caveat to that Plymouth were exceptionally terrible. So, but then again, are Portsmouth much better than Plymouth, really? So, like, I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that it's at Fratton Park, which is probably a harder place to go than what many people believe it is. So who knows? We'll wait and see what happens with Bristol City. But I'm not counting my chickens yet ahead of Tuesday. But because I had a fan in the Sunderland podcast group chat that I'm in going, we need to be battering these on Tuesday. If Portsmouth beat them 3-0. I'm like, mate, if it worked like that, brilliant. But the championship is not like that. It is far from it's far from that straightforward. So knowing Bristol City, they'll probably come up and get a point up here then, because that's just good, and it wouldn't surprise me because that's just Bristol City's way.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like I said, if they don't win over next weekend, I can't see Andy coming back home before I go away for my festive period. The way I really don't, because we know that coming, he don't come on when the team loses. So
Well, this is the thing because that's quite fickle because we both come on even when our teams get beat. So, like,
yeah,
hang on, who's Bristol City got after us? Right, let's put it this way: let's say they don't get anything in Sunderland, because I know a lot of people won't be expecting them to, which I'm touchwood hoping they don't. But let's just say
we got
after Sunderland,
QPR next weekend.
yeah, QPR at home. Like, I mean, that's good. QPR have improved. Don't get me wrong, but at Ashton Gate, that's got to be a win, surely, hasn't it? Like, you've got to be targeting. But then you know what'll happen though? They'll lose to. Say they lose to us. They'll draw with QPR, and then they'll go and beat West Brom at the Hawthorns a week later.
Mm,
Or whatever else it is.
possibility.
You know. But yeah, I mean, Bristol City's run. I mean, what is it like? Oh, what have they got? So obviously Sunderland away on Tuesday night, or this coming Tuesday night. Then it's QPR at home after that. Then West Brom away. Then Luton at home. Portsmouth at home. So yeah, let's see if Andy's going to be back on before the end of the year.
Yeah, I say 50-50 on that one. So yeah,
I'll say he will because Bristol City will pull out a result somewhere.
yeah,
Hopefully
absolutely.
not this week, but any time after that's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Do you know what? I didn't get to watch Sunday's game between West Brom and Sheffield United, but
Well, I
w-
did.
good. I know West Brom came back to draw 2-2 against the Blaze today. Blaze, a point. It's a West Brom's astonishing 10th draw in 11 games.
How mad's that stat though? 10 draws in 11. So imagine if someone said to you, "Oh, you're unbeaten in 11 games. How many did we win? One.
One.
One win. 10 games." Right. Let's just say in some of my Sunderland mates group chats, I was kind of swearing a bit when Sheffield United turned it round because I'm thinking, how do these guys get this fortunate every time? Right.
No.
If I was to start if I was to right at the start of the game, it was all West Brom. The first 25, 30 minutes was all West Brom. Sheffield United were. I kind of expected Sheffield United to struggle because, to be fair, despite all these draws, West Brom away is a difficult fixture. As you found out yourself, we didn't even beat them at home. So might have done if it weren't for the referees being what's it, but there you go with the
Yeah.
offside goal. But I'll not get into that again. Either way, it was offside to be fair. But either way, like if you look at this game, like is it? I'm going to get this name wrong. Hedgem or Hegem, whatever.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, fair enough then. I'll give myself a 100% chance of getting it right with two names, two different pronunciations. West Brom took the lead and it was deserved. They had the better chances before then. They were pinning Sheffield United in really, really well. And as I can imagine what you were like when you saw the score and I was watching it, when we're both trying to compete against Sheffield United, it's very, very frustrating when I saw them turn it around. I thought, guys, come on, this is the one fixture I've got hope of Sheffield United dropping points. Like, how way? But to be fair, I mean, I don't know have you seen the goals?
I've not seen the goal, so you could describe it to us.
Right. Okay. Well, West Brom's first was from a corner. From the right hand side, Heggen wins the header and heads it into the far
That's
left
not
corner.
surprising. They're good at set pieces.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. And that's what Carlos Cobran trains them and drills into them. The first one I can only describe as a defensive mix up, where I think the ball comes in from the left hand side, if I remember rightly. And then Callum O'Hare manages to nick the ball from close range in the 6 yard box after a defensive mix up between the goalkeeper and the back four, and then just stabs it home from close range. The second Sheffield United goal, to be fair, was actually a really, really good, well worked move. Where West Brom are shell shocked by having conceded. Sheffield United get the ball from kickoff, pass it round, get down to the left hand side. Ball from I think it was from Harrison Burrows, who by the way has since joining from Peterborough, I think it is in the summer.
Yeah.
He's been exceptional for Sheffield United this season. To be fair to him, as annoying as it is,
I
but
think
he's
Leeds. I
done.
think Leeds were linked with him as well too. Actually, earlier this summer.
Oh god, oh my god. Well, yeah, but he plays left back for them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so but he's actually got quite a few crucial assists and goals for them. So, but either way, I think if Burrows puts a lovely ball in the box, and Tyrese Campbell is probably one of the most clinical strikers, clinical striker in the championship right now, because it seems like everything he touches just turns to gold. It's like it wouldn't. Right now, it feels like he has like 7 touches and 6 of them result in the back of the net. So
Mm.
Sheffield United controlled the game towards the end of the first half, had a couple of good chances at the start of the second half. West Brom gradually grew back into the game, then the equaliser from Tom Fellows. I think his first name is Tom.
Yeah.
Tom Fellows. Like it was. I can only describe it as a pretty jammy goal. Where I think it was. He tries to put what I think was a cross into the box, but it kind of I think either takes a deflection or the wind assists it, and it goes right over Michael Cooper into the far left corner. You're best off describing it. It's probably you're better off watching it than me just listening to me describe it. And then from then, the game kind of swung in roundabouts. West Brom then ended the stronger for the last 20 minutes. Um, I would say it's a decent point for Sheffield United if I take off the fact that if I'm a bias out of it, in that I want them to be dropping points so we can get back into the top two. But
Listen. Both our team, both was so the Leeds want if it actually drop points. That was the more critical part to.
yeah, well, absolutely. Well, to be fair, they did in the end, didn't they? So at least they didn't win
But
it.
I
But
rather if West Ham had to win, that would
yeah,
have been the
we did both say we would have preferred West Brom did win the game. But there you
yeah.
go. It was a little annoying. 'Cause when it was 1-0, West Brom was like, "Get in, this is brilliant." Oh, piss off! When
Mm,
Sheffield United scored the 2 goals in 2 minutes. But no, from Sheffield United's point of view, I have to admit, they keep finding a way to get results when I don't think they deserve them. Like
I know.
the times, especially when I've watched them, I've not been convinced by them, but they keep on proving us wrong and getting points on the board. And away at West Brom, despite the fact they draw a lot of games, I'd say a draw at the Hawthorns is a good result. I think it's those two. Sheffield United, I've said all along. I think if you win the if you win the like your Oxfords at homes or your Derby at home, probably Stoke at home to a lesser degree as well. Those type of fixtures, if you win those games, then you're going to be well within a chance. If especially if you avoid defeat at least against sides that are going to be up there in the top six battle. So I would say for Sheffield United, it's a good point. From West Brom, good comeback to come back from 2-1 down at half time. But obviously, at some point, West Brom do need to end this drawing streak, and I think while not losing is definitely a good habit to get into. They need to start if they want to be keeping in line with the top six. They need to start winning again. So we'll wait and see. I think it's a point that will be better for Sheffield United, really, as opposed to West Brom. But it's not a bad point for West Brom either. At least it keeps West Brom well within the top six hunt. And obviously, as you won't like me saying this, it returns Sheffield United back to the top of the league, but by 1 point. And now the gap, funnily enough, is now 3 points from first to fourth again, which is, well, let's just say whether we stay in that conversation long term this season, I don't know. But I would imagine that at the very least, it's going to be a 3-horse race for automatic promotion.
I want it a 4-horse race, so one of the other teams can collapse. Yeah, that's all I'd say. So
Are you just going to say that just so we can try and get results against Burnley and Sheffield United when we play them again?
that's a critical point. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
a critical point.
we'll see. But anyway, so I believe we've got the two best topics to talk about last, haven't we?
Yes, we do. Which one? Who's going to go first?
You go
Me?
first then. You
Huh?
go
I'll
first.
do it. All right.
Yeah, I always go first, so you can go first.
I'll go first. You know what? That's fair. I'll give you a point. Yeah, good win for Leeds. Yes, on Saturday, winning 2-0 against Derby County. Goals from Joe Ronda from the corner, and then Max Verber is getting a goal in the front from it. I have to say, Leeds played really well, actually, very well. Derby didn't even have sniff any chances majority of the game. They were very. I think they had no shots on target, but after the first 45 minutes, they were quite rigid the Derby because they were playing six at the back, but we found a way to get through them, and at least we get our key players back from injury. So not, I know Junior Firpo went off injured, but I think Danny Falk's got loads of options now in the upcoming games during the festive period now. So yeah, it was a good win for us. We needed it, especially the way we lost to Blackburn, which was disappointed because even though there was clear, the controversy, it should have been a red card, yes or no, but to get back on the winning run, it was vital for us.
Absolutely, and I think and obviously it sets up a mouth-watering clash in midweek between you lot and Middlesbrough, doesn't it? So I kind of wish that game was on a Wednesday. I would have loved to have watched it, and we weren't playing at the same time.
I
But
know.
because that's always a tasty fixture, Leeds Middlesbrough. But yeah, this game, I mean, I believe Joe Rodon. Hang on, were both your goals headers?
No, Joe Rodon
No, Joe
was,
Rodon's was. Sorry, yeah,
but
the second
Verba
one
was
wasn't.
a low driven shot, was crossed and a low cross.
I don't know why I thought you scored two corners, but either way, no. But from what I did watch
We
of
have
this
been
game,
good with corners this season, so that's not a problem. So
sorry.
yeah, we have been good with from set pieces this season, so that's.
Well, I wish I could say the same, but we're atrocious from set pieces.
We were like that. We were badly when we had Bielsa in the Premier League. Yeah, we were so bad. He's got a lot for set pieces. I think Farker has now got that drilled into us now. So
Yeah, actually, don't be crap at set pieces.
yeah,
Yeah, well, every time we get a set piece in the stadium, we always go, why we're cheering that we've got a corner? We're not going to do anything anyway. It'll just go way over everybody else, or it'll just be blocked easily. But well, I'll get on to Sunderland in a minute. But no, from Lee's point of view, that was a massive win. You needed to make sure that you lost to Blackburn at Ewood Park. No direct shame in that, as long as you bounce back and win the next game. And obviously, look, Derby, we're always going to go to Leeds and try and make it frustrating for you. I don't think Derby were going to be very adventurous. Did you see the little?
three shots they had all game and one shot on target.
I've
So,
I've just seen the stats. Funnily enough, yes.
but in the first, by half time, did he have anything on target? No shots at all. So
Well, I suppose second half they kind of had to go for it a little bit, but obviously the
yeah,
problem is for them is how much do they risk getting potentially battered? Where you just go right, let's go for it. Oh no, Leeds have hit a score three more times on the counter attack. Did you see Paul Vaughan's little clip? That was I got sent a clip from Paul from a mate who's a Chef Wed fan on Twitter, and he was going about how Derby fans it was a Derby fan slagging off Paul Vaughan. I'll see if I can hold on. I'll be able to get the clip for you. Hold on. It's
yeah,
two
go
seconds.
on because I've not seen it, no, but yeah, that's interesting because
Did you want to see them go for it a bit more in the second half? No, is my honest answer. Like, I could stand here and say, I mean, I could lie, obviously, but I won't.
so, so
he wanted
basically,
to lie, didn't he? He wanted to lie, so
yeah, well, so basically, he said that like, did you wish that you'd gone for it a bit more second half? He said, "Oh, to be honest, no." Now, I know Derby fans won't like to hear that, but I kind of got what you meant in that how much do you value goal? Goal difference could be a factor for Derby at the end of the season in terms of whether they stay up or not. So if, say, for example, they went for it in the second half, and say you scored 3 more goals and you end up winning 5-0 or 5-1 because they went for it a bit second half,
Yeah.
and then say they get relegated on goal difference by 1 or 2 goals, then all of a sudden that could be a factor, couldn't it? And let's be honest, is
Yeah,
Leeds away?
goal difference is a factor in the relegation battle. It is such.
Exactly.
It's not about the points. It's always been about goal difference as well.
Yeah, as long as who has the least shit goal difference stays up, basically, if it comes down to that. So, and let's be honest, for Derby, is Leeds away really going to define if they're going to stop up in the Championship this season or not? It's
No,
not, is it?
really.
Nah. Probably, well, not even Leeds at home, to be honest. But like Leeds, either game, it's going. Those are games where if Derby get anything, great. If not, so be it. So there's going to be much more important games for Derby on whether they're going to define stay up. I get that you don't want to not see your team not go for it. You don't want to just be defensive all the time. But I think sometimes you've got to be realistic when you're up against a better team. Like that's just how it
Yeah.
is. There's no shame in Derby going to Leeds and losing like 2-0. You want to look at it this way. Flip it round. Luton have got a much more expensive team than Derby in terms of wages, probably, and even money spent, and they lost 3-0. So, like, it is what it is. Sheffield United, who are top at the minute, lost to Leeds 2-0 at Ellen Road. So, like, so yeah, I do get the frustration with Derby fans, but yeah, you're not
Yeah, I
gonna
understand.
be overly adventurous at Ellen Road, are you?
I understand that, but we do play against them on the 28th of this month, so it ain't gonna be too long. We play against them
Well,
at Pride Park, so maybe Paul Wall will change his tune on that
maybe.
day. Will depends on that one. So
Yeah. Well, to be fair, right, I don't know, because, and I'm not saying this just because you're here, but it wouldn't surprise me if that ends up having like a Derby 1-0 sort of scoreline. And it's not because of Leeds particularly, it's because, and I know George Ellick from the Not the Top 20 pod mentioned this, and I couldn't believe it. Apparently, there's not been that many away wins in the Championship this season, which is
no,
quite staggering. And I thought, what, even from Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, and all that? I'm like, Jesus Christ, there isn't, is there? I can imagine the highest away win someone would probably have had this season is probably about 4 or 5, maybe 5
yeah,
or 6 at most. So, like, it's quite scary when you think about it. So it's one where, and it's the same when we go to Derby, by the way, because we go to Derby a couple of weeks after you do. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't win there either. So we'll have to see. But look, from Derby's point of view, more important, well, not more important, but more crucial games coming up in the battle to stay up, because that's still going to be Derby's objective. And so far, they're doing a pretty damn good job of making a good fist of it. And as for Leeds, it was just important to bounce back. And to be fair, something you did, and obviously I'll talk about us in a minute, we both did, was take advantage of Burnley and Middlesbrough drawing against each other, which meant that at least Leeds go back into the top 2. So, and obviously, before we move on to Sunderland, I'll ask you this. How are you feeling about Leeds versus Middlesbrough this coming week?
it's a huge game. I think we're a lot more different after what happened in the Carabao Cup where we lost 3-0. So embarrassing at the start of the season because that was just minutes before we found out Rutter was going to go to Brighton, and at the last minute of his the deadline of his release clause was going to expire. So there was a lot of mess still going inside the club the way, because I think Farker used all 5 subs all at once and it didn't work well. So I think we're a little bit more better prepared, this time, because we it was atrocious that we lost the Middlesbrough 3-0. Middlesbrough played us off the park completely. So hopefully it's going to be this is a level playing field compared to where we were at the start of the season.
So here's one for you then. I'm interested to ask this. Do you consider a draw a bad result? Now, obviously, you want to win. You really
It
want
would
to
not
win
be
it.
a bad result.
Yeah,
No, I agree. I wouldn't. A draw would not be a bad result because it's going against one of the top teams that have really, really been on good form with their goals and
yeah.
scored. So I'd rather, if you take the draw, then yes, I would.
Yeah, because who have you got next week? Preston away, I think
Preston
it is.
away, yeah.
So this is the thing. So if you say whatever order it comes, if you get 4 points this coming week, then I think, because if you say you beat Borough at home, it's a great win against one of the teams in the top 6. And also, if you go to Preston away, where not a lot of away teams this season are winning many away games, then you go, well, all right, then that's not bad. Or vice versa. If you at least don't lose to a team in the playoffs, but you also then go to Preston and win if you can manage it, then I would say that's not a bad week for Leeds. It's just a matter of, because this for me is midweek tie of the week. Like it's really, I'm really looking. Again, I really wish it wasn't on the same day as our game. Either we play on the Wednesday or you play on the Wednesday. But I'm
We'd
looking forward.
rather watch one of that games. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
do. Yeah,
yeah.
I
I'm
know.
looking forward to watching the EFL highlights of this game and watching it, because I want to see.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I
No,
think, and the thing I've noticed, I think you two are probably the two. well, okay, I know Norwich have scored the most goals, I think, but I mean, in terms of teams in the top six, I think you two are by some way probably the most attacking, talented teams in the division.
Yeah. We're both on 33 goals for, so we have been more attacking than
Yeah.
yeah. So
When we're up against poorer teams, we're quite attacking, but we like to try and balance it with being good defensively as well. Which I'm not saying Leeds and Borough don't, but I think you two will have. This is going to put it this way: it's going to be two teams going at each other. I think, and I think it's going to be. But I watch it be a boring 0-0 now. I've picked the game up so much, but either way, yeah, I agree. I don't think a point would be a bad result, but obviously, I'd imagine that Leeds fans at home, obviously you've got Ellen Road crowd behind you, and I've said loads of times before, I think Leeds will have enough at Ellen Road to beat 9 teams out of 10 in this division, and this is probably the biggest test at Ellen Road you'll have had probably since Sheffield United, and of course you passed that game with flying colours, didn't you?
yeah, and then after losing the Burnley, yeah. So I think this is another big game, especially after the Sheffield United game that we won 2-0. So I think it's a key game. It's a huge key. It's a game of the week. Yeah, you're right. It's game of the midweek completely. It really is. So I will
Absolutely.
see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Right, let's finish off with your team, Michael. Good. What a game for Tommy Watson to score his first 2 goals of his career after you beat Stoke City 2-1. But was that a bit of a slow start after Lewis Kuma scores? But you equalised a minute after. But it took longer in the game to get that winner towards the end.
What do you mean slow start? There was 2 goals in the first 7 minutes.
I know. But you
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You can see the first. So
Yeah. Well, first of all, I must admit I have never left a game as either soaked, damp, or cold in my life. It was. I think there was. The fact is, it was on. It was one of the 12:30 kickoffs, and it was on Sky Sports Plus. I think a lot of people. I wouldn't be surprised because it doesn't look great attendance wise at the Stadium of Light. But I think a lot of our fans went, you know what, screw this. Let's just watch it on Sky Sports Plus and just.
I think
And
when I saw it, I thought, bloody hell! I know it must be.
it was bad.
Drenched, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't quite as bad as what it was, say, down the south coast or down in Devon, because obviously, sorry, not south coast, Wales or in Devon, because Cardiff, Watford, and who was the other one? Plymouth, Oxford were both called off.
Yeah.
So, that it wasn't as bad, obviously, as it was down there. I think they were on red alert, whereas ours was yellow, which is quite weird because the Stadium of Light is literally next to the sea. So you would have figured it would have been worse up here, but yeah, it was absolutely freezing. I was freezing my tits off at the game, put it that way. But I was one of the morons that thought, "Oh, I'm not missing a home game because of this." Oh my god, this is bad. But either way, right, the game. Sunderland's defending for the first Stoke goal didn't impress me too much. I thought it was a hopeful long ball forward, which to be fair to Stoke, it worked, and they obviously managed to get in front, even though there was a minute where it did look like that. What's his face? Tom Cannon was going to steal the goal stat on the goal line, but obviously Kumas manages to get himself a really good finish because obviously Patterson, I think, tries to make a save or gets the ball to him. Get a hand to the ball, and then he manages to dink it over afterwards and then get it into the bottom right left corner, which was a really good one. What was crucial for Sunderland, obviously, was equalising straight away, which I didn't expect. I think it was literally within 20 seconds of us kicking off again that we was level. I'm interested to see what you think on this. For me, I think Tommy Watson's first goal was a brilliant goal. It was a brilliant strike. But there's 2 things I'm interested in. Will Victor Johansson be disappointed not to have done better? And 2, to me, I would look to me like the wind helped the speed of the ball go past him quicker. But I don't know whether I'm looking too much into that. If it didn't help, then fair play from Watson. That's an even better strike. It's a good goal anyway. And either way, his confidence will be great. But do you think Victor Johansson will be disappointed not to have done better?
Yeah, of course. I think Stoke played decently well, and then they could have had a chance to get something out of this game to get a draw. Actually, I was a bit surprised. Well, not too surprised, but I thought they've really performed quite well. They just need to get better in the final third, be more clinical.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, it's a weird one because for me at the game, well, I'll quickly talk about it. After Tommy Watson's goal, for most of this game, I thought Sunderland battered Stoke. Actually, I thought we were. Obviously, look, the stats will say Stoke had more of the ball, but a lot of that was in sort of the defensive midfield and passing around the back. A lot of that was kind of the passing around in deeper areas with the ball. And to be fair, though, I'll give this to Stoke. The best chance they had after they scored, where they should have really retaken the lead, was right before half time when it was a scramble in the box. And then the left hand side of the 6-yard box, Tom Cannon fires straight at Anthony Patterson. And then Patterson makes the save. And then the rebound shot goes right into the side net. And that was Stoke's best chance.
I thought it went in. I thought it did went in.
So did I. I thought, oh, here we go. It's 2-1. but obviously, thankfully, from our perspective, it didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, Tom Cannon, when he has that effort with how clinical he's been in front of goal, I was expecting that to be right 2-1, bottom right corner. But obviously, it's a big games can be decided on big moments, and we've had enough of them go against us. So it's about time we had a bit of fortune in that regard. But no, from that point, but if you actually look at the chances we had, Tommy Watson hit the post in the first half. We had Wilson Isidore when Elise does a beautiful ball from the left hand side, and Isidore somehow flashes the shot wide when you at least get it on target. Then, if you remember the second half, we had an effort from Tommy Watson where Patrick Roberts, I think, does really well down the right hand side to get the ball in the box, and Watson somehow misses when he's 6 yards out in front of goal. Get it on target, it's 1-0. Then on top of that, we obviously had a goal disallowed when Watson again, who was brilliant all afternoon, gets down the left byline, puts the ball in the box. Miyende has got basically a free header, and then obviously Isidore's on the back stick to tap the ball in. And I didn't realize, and I was frustrated when I was like, "Oh, not another goal disallowed." But when you watch it back, he's clearly offside. There's no debate about it. So for once, I will praise the Lions official. He actually did a really good job there in spotting that. So that was really really good. But then Stoke had a couple of half efforts second half, but but then obviously when Sunderland got the late winner, what was it, 86th minute?
Yeah.
So that was critical for us because it wasn't because the last two games against West Brom and Sheffield United, for example, I thought our performances were really, really good. But obviously it was about finishing your chances and, making sure you're not prolific in front of goal too much and making sure you end that sort of winless streak. Because although we'd drawn 5 before that, you could say, oh, well, you're unbeaten in 10. Then you lose to Sheffield United, it's winless in 6. This was a game that if we want to keep pace with the top two, and again, long term, there's still big question marks on whether we will be. But if you want to keep pace, we needed to win this game. And for me personally, I thought we thoroughly deserved it. The only thing that annoyed me really was that we didn't win by more. So while Stoke had effort and while Stoke had a couple of really good half chances, Sunderland missed about 6 or 7 sitters. And I think and it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I'm really not. Like Sunderland had enough chances to win this game at a canter. So, but yeah, for Tommy Watson, obviously for the winning goal, Patrick Roberts goes down the right hand side, puts the ball to Watson. It does take a deflection on the way in, but Watson for me deserved that brace because all afternoon he ran at Stoke constantly and caused them all sorts of problems. And the good thing is, until Romain Mundle comes back, and I'm not expecting this from Tommy Watson every week, by the way, because he's just burst onto the scene. Really, we need to remember he's going to be inconsistent, but he is going to. But what I do like about him is that the next 7 or 8 games, that spot's his. That spot's his until Mundle comes back, and then you've got an interesting selection dilemma between the two of them, particularly for Reggie Labrise, particularly if Watson keeps performing. But no, Sunderland, and to be fair, to win in those conditions was really encouraging as well. Because I was convinced at half time this is getting called off. And actually, me and a few of the lads in the stadium were making a joke going, whenever it was 1-1 and Stoke, and we had the ball, like, oh, don't call this game off. Come on, we can win this. Then Stoke get it. Call it off. That's it. It's totally unsafe. Go on. Get it called off. Postpone it. And then we've got the ball. Don't you dare call it off. We're going to be all right. We'll win the game. Yeah. Honestly, if you see how bad the weather was, I was convinced that this game was going to get postponed. But to be fair, we managed to win in very tough circumstances, conditions-wise. So let's just hope this week coming Tuesday against Bristol City is going to be a lot drier and a lot less windy than that.
Well, we hope so indeed as well. And before we finish the show, I've just got some notes coming from Plymouth Argyle. They
Yeah,
have
I saw this.
confirmed that Mike Phelan has been appointed as Wayne Rooney's new assistant coach at Plymouth Argyle. The 62-year-old spent 9 years coaching at Old Trafford in 2 spells, replaces Pete Shuttleworth, who's left the club by mutual consent. So this is some big news. Wayne Rooney's trying to bring some experience. He knows Mike Phelan quite well. Rooney played. Rooney Phelan was assistant manager, so Alex Rooney was there at United. So it's it's a huge thing for Rooney because especially the last 2 games have been atrocious, and looking at it play yesterday, which means it was a good time to make the change.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is with this, does this suggest then, I don't know whether it's just because it's an enforced change, but does this suggest that Rooney's going to be having a bit longer a longer crack at the Plymouth job, and that unless things go really really tits up in the next few weeks, that his job's safe for the time being? So it might be that the Plymouth are investing in the Rooney project, so to speak, as
Yeah.
in Rooney project surrounding Plymouth Argyle. So, but yeah, no, Rooney's bringing someone in that he knows at least, so that can only help him really.
It is going to be interesting how that, I think Matt Phelan, we've seen him under Ferguson, how him, being Ferguson's right hand man. We'll see if that can make a difference for Plymouth season to stay up. So really huge for them.
No, absolutely. And obviously, we know how big a battle this is for Plymouth to stay up. So, yeah, we can only really wait and see how this pans out. But I mean, you're right. It gives them at least it gives Mike feeling an extra few days to sort of settle into his surroundings, doesn't it? Before a couple of crucial games coming up this week, particularly like obviously starting with Swansea at home this coming midweek. Although they could get something next Saturday at Sheffield United, that'd be really appreciated. But
Oh,
I very very much doubt that'll happen.
you never know.
Well, it is the Championship, so we'll wait and see.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you as always. As usual, let's go
No, thank
through
you.
the tables in the Championship. So Sheffield United go back on top of the table after the draw earlier today against West Brom. Leeds are now back up into second place. The biggest movers were back up was Blackburn to go up to above Watford. Norwich City go below Sheffield Wednesday and Millwall alongside Millwall and Bristol City. And at the bottom of the table, Queens Park Rangers finally move up off the bottom three, off the bottom into 20th place, while Portsmouth now off the bottom with Hull replacing down in 24th place. And then let's go through the fixtures coming between Tuesday and Wednesday. Some mouthwatering the fixtures here. The game of the week will be Tuesday between Leeds United against Bristol on Tuesday at 8 o'clock as well. Sunderland at home to Bristol City is 15 minutes prior to it, while Burnley at home to Derby County as well. And then on Wednesday's games, Coventry City go away to West Brom, as we mentioned earlier on. And also, it's a big game at the bottom of the table between alongside Cardiff City and Preston North End and Queens Park Rangers against Oxford United. So, yeah, those are the key games during the midweek as well. But yeah, thank you very much, Michael, as usual. Appreciate that. We'll hopefully see you at the same time next week. As I said, we'll be back on next Sunday at hopefully maybe live next Sunday at 8 p.m. as usual here on the Total Lever Home Football Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well for any content as well. I will be back with the Saturday show, which will be the last show next week before the festive period before I go off alongside with the championship review. So appreciate that, and like I said, everyone has a good week. Be safe, and hopefully, if you go into the games, we'll try to message
We'll
Jane.
see if Annie's back next week.
Well, we will see if Annie's
If
back
he
next
wins
week.
if he gets a win next Saturday, for example, then yeah, be CEO and Annie being here.
Absolutely, Michael. Thank you for your time as usual, and
Thanks for
we'll
having me.
see you guys. I'll see all you guys again next Sunday. Take it for now. Bye bye.